August. I will call the Tuesday, August 24th, 2021 meeting of the Monona Community Development Authority to order. Brian, you've got the roll call. Okay. Next thing, as you just were alerted, this meeting is being recorded. Open sessions, yes. Closed sessions, no. And so if there's something that you don't want saved for eternal time, don't say it. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve CDA meeting minutes from June 22nd of this year. And there's both open and closed session.
So moved.
We've got a motion from Alder Core. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I don't know who the second was. I missed it.
Alderwood.
Okay. Does anybody have any corrections? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, the minutes are approved. Next is the appearance section. And there are some people in here. Some of the folks are here for an item on the agenda. So if you're here for the Monona Garden site or for the Dean Monona Drive, Spring Haven, Gordon site, we will come to you in due time. Is there anybody else that's in here that wants to appear before the CDA? Okay, I'll take that to be none. So the appearance section is closed. There's no public hearing. Item 6 is new business. And this is a preliminary discussion on the development proposal and tax increment finance request for 4711 to 4601 Monona Drive. This is the Spring Haven, Dean, Monona Drive, Gordon block. So Brian, are you gonna start this out and introduce who's ever gonna talk? And
yes, happy to. So just a little bit of context and background. As Chair Stolper mentioned, this is a project for kind of that block where the BMO Harris Drive Up building is all the way to the antique store that's north of Schnicks and the city parcel that's there. The development team, the Neutral Project, is here with us this evening. Tyler Warner and Nate Halbach will be giving you a brief presentation kind of on their concept with the purpose of tonight's discussion, getting your initial feedback on it from both a TIF standpoint and a general project standpoint as they go through the process of submitting kind of the formal TIF application that would come back before you at a future meeting, likely your meeting in September. On a parallel track, they are also in discussions with the Plan Commission about this project from a land use and development standpoint. They've had an initial pre-workshop with the Plan Commission at the end of June. They've also had one neighborhood meeting as well to get some initial feedback. They would tentatively be back in front of the Plan Commission for some additional workshop discussion at some point in September. So this project is still very much kind of in concept phase, but looking to get your informal feedback as they go along the process. So I will put up a PowerPoint presentation that the applicants have put together and happy to scroll through that, but I'll turn things over to Nate and Tyler to talk more about their team and the project.
Thanks, Brian. Do you actually mind sharing that PowerPoint so we can start with that and then we'll open it up for questions for the committee? Awesome. You can move actually to the development team slide. So the development team is a joint venture by Neutral Project and Compass Properties. Compass Properties is owned by Tyler Knoll. And so it is myself and Tyler Warner as principals of Neutral Project, along with Tyler Knoll from Compass Properties that will be making up the development team. And then we have Jeff Davis with Angus Young as our architect of record and engineer of record, along with Terracon for geotechnical engineering and also True North for environmental. Brian, you can move to the next slide. Awesome. You can keep going. I think if we're gonna quickly scroll through these first couple of slides, because I think most of you know where the site is. Obviously, like the chair said, on essentially the whole block between Dean and Springhaven, we are proposing to put up a mixed-use multifamily development. Brian, you can move to the next slide. And you can go down, yeah, perfect, right there to the site context. So we have a preliminary LOI that is going through BMO corporate to be executed. But we are acquiring BMO and then we are executing a lease back with them. And they will be kind of our large retail tenant on the corner there of Dean and Monona Drive. And then we have a third-party fitness center. So that's not just an amenity for the tenants, that's also something for the community, something like a Princeton Club X or Anytime Fitness, along with a cafe, which we're talking to a couple of the local cafes of possibly moving their current location into this new development. And then the rest of it, it will look and have the appearance of retail, but it will be amenity space and a resident lobby on the corner of Springhaven and Monona Drive. Yeah, Brian, you can move to the next slide. I think it talks a little bit more about the units and layouts. So you can keep going down. Down a couple more. Down a couple more, Brian, all the way to, yeah, there we go, the massing. Awesome. So if you look here at this massing, the blue area is BMO. We are retaining a drive-through for them, which has been something that has always been a request that they have and kind of a prerequisite to us executing an LOI with them. So that will exit onto Dean. And then the rest of this space on the first floor is retail. And one of the requests from Plan Commission was that we have a stepped massing. Originally, we had a facade that goes up 4 stories and does not have any stepped massing on the top. So we've made that amendment with Angus Young, and we're now stepping the massing at the 4-story back. And there'll be some balcony units there, along with the amenity space on the 4th floor. Brian, you can move to the next slide. So this is just the aerial view. That little box there in the center, that is the amenity space that I was just talking about. And then we have kind of a nice intimate alleyway going in between the parking and Monona Drive, which will also act as a cafe, outdoor seating space, and then also amenity for our tenants in the summer. Brian, you can move to the next slide. This is just overlaying it on a Google map, so you guys can kind of get a very good idea of where it is. So essentially, Dean is right here where that, if you look at the massing facing southeast, the blue area, that's Dean. And then the Springhaven, if you look at the massing facing southwest, that's Springhaven. So definitely not using everything we could. Still want to be respectful of the neighbors that are behind us. So this is just a brief overview before we get into the TIF request. Right now we're at 98 units, 193 parking stalls is the required per code. But right now we're asking for 161 total parking stalls. And the reason we're asking for less is we're doing a 14-story tower in downtown Madison, where we have these Tesla rideshare cars that will be in the development. And so we're expecting some of our tenants to, instead of using cars, they're just buying a membership to our rideshare. And essentially they'll be able to use that to go grab groceries, go to work, bring it back, plug it in. It's a sustainable transportation solution. You can flip to the next slide, Brian. So getting into our TIF request, there was a TIF package that was sent out. I'm not sure, Brian, was that sent to the committee or is that something we're going to do afterwards?
I think they got the kind of some initial numbers, but we'll do the full TIF package as part of the application.
Okay. So just a brief overview as far as TIF. Right now we did a brief incremental analysis and we found that if we can provide the size that we want and get that approved by Planning Commission, then if we take the total TIF available, it would be $4.7 million. And if we take a present value of 5% on that, our TIF request would then be 3.4 million. And we are asking that to be developer finance TIF. So essentially our goal with that is that we'll go out to a bank, they will finance it, and then we'll do the TIF agreement through the city. And we've done that with other municipalities like Middleton, and it's worked out quite nicely. If we look into the development budget here, we have land costs that are landing at just about 2.4 million. We have soft costs at 2.5, and then we have hard costs at 20. Brian, you can flip to the next slide. It talks a little bit more about. You can flip one more slide. Awesome. So we looked at kind of the goals of the TID 7, and we looked at, you guys wanted increased density. We're definitely achieving that. You want increased property value. We're definitely doing that right now, because the current property value for all 4 parcels is 1.2 million, the assessed value, and we're projecting that it'd be over 14 million. The increase in tax basis, we're achieving that. Pedestrian improvements, the neighborhood's been very excited about adding this, along with the amenity of having a cafe there, a potential third-party fitness center, and just kind of the street appearance. Obviously, BMO and Sixmar is not terrible, but having a new site will look great with our landscaping. The other couple of things that we do want to mention is affordable housing. We are offering, and this is something we want to discuss more with the committee. Right now, we're assuming 10% of the units would be at 80% of the CMI. That is something that we're willing to adjust based on our discussions today. And then the last thing is our sustainability development goals. We will be seeking a LEED gold or a LEED silver certification, potentially a LEED gold. That's the analysis we're running currently. And with that, I was going to open it up for discussion with the committee.
Okay. Thank you. Nate, does the committee have any questions at this point in time? The information is pretty new to us. I see that Brian Gatto has his hand up. You want to say something, Brian?
Yeah, this is just more about point of information for the CDA members. So referencing TIF district number 7 here, you may recall, I think it was at the end of 2017, early 2018, we actually removed these parcels from TIF district number 7. So TIF district number 7 does not cover these parcels. So for this or any project to occur on this site, we'd either have to consider creating a new TIF district for this block or whatever span of geography we'd want to encompass in this, or re-expand the boundaries of 7 back to capture these properties back in, which is probably defer to Gary for his analysis, but that's probably not the direction we'd want to go. So if this project was going to move forward, one of the considerations would be establishing a new district in support of this project. So just put that out there for information.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Again, I will ask the committee if anybody has any questions that they want to ask at this point. And before I call on anybody that does want to ask, what I'm going to suggest once we're done with this is that the developers get together with staff and flesh this thing out a little bit better so that we've got something to actually talk about, and other than just some pictures at this point in time. So members of the authority, does anybody have a specific question at this point? Scott Kelly, are you trying to? No. Okay. Doug Wood, did you have a hand up?
Can you
Yeah,
hear me, Tom?
Yes, oh, hang on, Doug, please. Scott, go ahead.
Great. I didn't know if I was tuned in or not. I haven't gotten a chance to really look at the TIF ask, but I'm surprised at the size of it, I guess, from what I hear. Maybe, as you suggest, they can work with city staff and kind of figure out why that would be when you're looking at a market rate mixed use property.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Doug Wood.
yeah. With regard to the car sharing, or with the request to be under the required number of stalls by the ordinance, do you, and you don't need to have this tonight, but in the future would be interested to know, like, how do you know, why do you think that would work? is there some evidence from other projects that you've done or that you know of that you could share with the city? And then could you just restate again what you said about affordable housing?
Yeah, for sure. So as far as the rideshare concept goes, that is something new that we're implementing in downtown Madison. That building breaks ground in late November of this year. So it's not something that's actually been implemented yet into an existing development of ours. But it is something that we've seen other developers do that has been advantageous for them, along with their parking count reductions. And, right now the current code for Monona is more than 1-to-1. And so we think that a lot of our tenants, even if you live in a 2-bedroom, if they're a renter, they're likely only going to have one car. Maybe they have two, but right now we're breaching 1.5-to-1. So that means a lot of our 2-bedrooms can have two cars. So really we're talking about maybe the small minority of people that are in 3-bedrooms that have 3 drivers that now only have 2 cars. And now they're using that third driver is using our Tesla rideshare. So it's partially that we think the ordinance is too much of parking, and partially that we really want to implement this concept. And then Doug, your other question was on affordable housing. Right now we're projecting within our pro forma for the increment is 10% of the units would be at 80% of the CMI. Now we're willing to adjust that. We can't actually access any WIDA financing if we don't go to 20% of the units at 80%. So that's something that we're looking at. We could probably go up to 20% of the units at 80% of the CMI.
Okay, speaking for myself, I would be interested in having us do more affordable housing in this project. We haven't really done much in the last couple big projects we've had. So, thanks.
And Mr. Wood, when you say more, would 20% be acceptable, or are you thinking even more than that?
No, I think that would be acceptable. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something that we've already considered and will definitely continue to consider and could be a condition of TIF.
Jen Kerr.
Do you have any experience with LEED properties? Have you gone for certification before or not?
Yeah, we are currently going through the process of LEED Gold. And so we have gone through the process. Rivian out of Milwaukee is our lead consultant that takes care of all that for us.
Okay, any other questions? Andrew Homburg.
Did I hear you say, I think I saw a screenshot, Nate, that the total built out value, including soft costs, fees, et cetera, caps out at 26 million?
Yeah, I can pull up the exact amount.
That's fine. Well, I deal in round numbers at this stage.
Yeah,
So,
no worries. Yeah.
I think it was 26 million for total value of the project with a roughly $3.5 million ask on the TIF.
Yep.
And I thought I heard you say something about the assessed valuation at 14 million.
That is correct. That's
Can you
currently,
explain that to me? Does that have to do with income stream, or what's driving that number to 14?
yeah. So our current improved assessed value as of 2023 in our analysis came at 14.9 million. And that is taking our income at a 7.9 cap rate.
And do you know what the current base value of the boundary is?
The current base assessment value is at 1.2. And that's what we implemented into our TIF analysis.
So we're looking at 13.7 in increment
That is correct. That's what we have.
based upon the numbers before us. And that $14 million in assessed valuation, was that based upon your original submittal of a full market rate project, or does that incorporate 10%, 80%?
That was based on our 10% at 80%, but we would have to rerun the numbers to go to 20, which we can.
Which would, because of its income driven valuation, that would drive that incremental value down and make the math tougher for us.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions for Nate? Okay, and thank you, Nate. I would suggest that you get in touch with Brian Gatto and deal with staff and firm up the package a bit.
And Cherry, just so we know when we're going back, what else would you guys like to see to make a determination as far as if this is viable or not?
Well, right now, there are so many questions that I couldn't determine whether it's viable or not, just based on what I've seen. So the city administrator and the planner, they know what's going to be necessary, I believe.
Okay. And just so we know, does the city of Monona only do developer finance TIF? Or is there any scenario that the city would be financing this?
We have never done a pay-go. So this would be the first one of its kind. And the reason is pretty simple. It costs us 2.5%, probably a little north of there, to have the developer do the financing.
Wait, so just so I'm clear on that, the city would be paying interest for us on that loan?
No,
No, if
cost of the
we,
project would go up from a developer finance project versus an upfront grant. Typically, that's what you see. The ask goes up.
the
I
city can borrow at something south of 2%. Developer is going to probably be 4.5%, I'm guessing.
Yeah, 3.6 is where we're standing right now.
That's pretty good.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we'll coordinate with Brian and continue our presentation. And probably, Brian, when do you think we can come back to council?
The CDA, depending on how we can get things fleshed out in the next couple of weeks, it might be tentative at their next meeting in September. We'll have to see how things go.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
September would be their next meeting.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having us. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Next item is item 7A. This is under old business. This is continued review, discussion, and possible action if necessary of the development proposal and tax increment finance request at 6501 Bridge Road. This is Mofsky, and I can't pronounce the second name, I apologize, and Opulence LLC. This is the Monona Gardens project. And Mr. Gosh was in last time for a preliminary, and then we've asked him to come back, and he's back. So Brian Gatto, unless there's any reason you want to say something, I will turn it over to Mr. Gosh. And you can tell us what you've updated and where you are on the project.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Brian, did you have anything, or do you want me to just jump into it?
Go ahead and jump right in.
Okay, so based on the conversation we had, I think it was back late June, we've been working with staff and Mr. Becker to define more components of this project. What we are comfortable with in some of these revised numbers is where we were actually doing our TIF run, and we valued that at about 11.6 million for a guaranteed value for the project. We also did a couple different analyses for those the live work components as a rental and as a sale. The sale of the live work then would give us an approximate value of around $12 million. So either scenario for a purchase or a lease of the live workspaces gets us in a pretty similar place. So we were comfortable with that. The land acquisition, I know that was a comment that came up the last time as being, potentially overvalued. So we did adjust that. Like I said, the last time the original analysis was all rental, we did refine that, and we also added we redid it for the purchase of the live work. The TIF front again was about $11.8 million. We did adjust some money from the project plan for property acquisition. We put that back into parking, into the parking structure. We did take all of the money out of the project plan for a geothermal system and added that into parking. We have been in discussions with Pace that they would be interested in working with us to engineer and fund the geothermal portion, potentially some car chargers and some e-bikes as part of this project. So we got a we've been getting some good feedback from those guys. I'd say we're getting close, but we're still talking to them about some of the particulars. Mr. Becker has had some great feedback and comments to us, and has really caught a couple things that I had overlooked. Over the past month or so, we've really been trying to dial in these numbers. We're pretty happy with the project components and how they align with the project plan. We think that the valuation is there, and we think that we've demonstrated a decent request here for what we think is going to be a pretty unique project. So that's, we have been working through a lot of these items. A lot has changed since the last time in terms of the amount. I think if you guys recall, there was an amount in there for some ordinary income tax that was completely my mistake on that one. So that obviously went away. Redefining some of those project components, and then just redefining I guess I would say tightening up the project in general. So I think, if anyone has any questions on where we are right now, obviously we're here to respond to any of that, and any comments, we can keep talking.
I get myself unmuted there. Okay, thank you. Any members of the authority have any questions? We are going to go to closed session when we're done with the open session here to talk, amongst the authority itself about more specifics. But are there any questions, clarifying kinds of questions for Mr. Gosh?
I'd have one question, Tom.
Go ahead, Scott.
Mr. Goff, have you looked, and maybe it'd be something you could do between now and the next time, talk to any banks about the capabilities of financing a owner-occupied condominium in this project? One of the reasons why we don't see too many new condos these days is banks have a very difficult time financing them. And I just, before you commit all of these live work units to owner, and look to that money as your equity, I would check with banks to see if they're able to finance units like this. And maybe you have, but if you have, I'd be curious.
Yeah, we definitely have. We just finished a 19-unit condo in Madison, and there were no issues from getting the construction loan, from financing from that perspective. From the buyer's perspective, it was, I don't want to say effortless, but we didn't have any issues from any of the buyer's lenders. Now, the lender that we ultimately go with on this project, they have expressed an interest in being part of that, part of those transactions. So it's a great question, and I think that had this been a few years ago, we'd probably be having a different conversation. But what we're seeing right now is from our side a demand for this, and from the lender's side, this is if we were doing a 400 unit condo project, nobody would touch it. I think for something like this, I think there's a lot more flexibility to make this one happen. So it's a very good question.
Okay, Andrew Hamburg.
Mr. Gosh, so are there 17 of those live work units, the ownership units? Is that where we're at right now?
So yes, we are at 17, and what I would say is the square footage is not going to change. Now, how they get configured, that has been a bit of a moving target here. We've had, we really haven't spent much time at all marketing this, but we're getting people approaching us and asking, well, can we combine two of these? Can we take one and split it into two pieces? So there's, we're trying to bake in some flexibility. So the actual number of units might vary by a little bit, but the actual square footage and the assessable value should be relatively the same.
And in the original proposal, there were 50 apartments. What is that number now?
That number is 39.
39 and 17.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.85, paren 1, paren small e, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And the specific project we're talking about is the 6501 Bridge Road project, Winona Gardens site. So I will entertain a motion to go to closed session.
So moved.
Did I get a motion?
I had the motion.
Okay, I have a first from Alder Core. Is there a second?
Second.
Andrew Hamburg is the second. This is roll call. Brian, please.
Yep. Alder Kuhr,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Mr. Hamburg,
Aye.
and Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Session, the motion passes. You're going to let those folks back in? Okay, Mr. Gosh, we have had a discussion, obviously, and we would like you and your team to meet with City Administrator Gatto, Gary Becker, and perhaps Planner Plowman. We have a number of questions. They have the questions, and some of the questions involve answers which don't currently exist, which you are going to have to get. So that's what we have for you tonight, and we thank you for your continued interest in the project. The CDA is likewise continues to be interested in the project and supporting the project if we can get some rest of the answers that we have. With that, Mr. Gosh, any further question?
No, if I understand the direction right, I'll talk to Brian. We'll get, I'm assuming we can get questions so I can start responding to them prior to us getting together.
I'll type them up tomorrow morning and send them to you and to Gary Becker and tomorrow morning, or thereabouts. And then we can get a meeting on the calendar to talk about them more.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we can keep moving along. We're not trying to delay anything here.
Oh, no, I didn't make that assumption. So, okay.
Okay.
Well, appreciate everyone's help here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Bye.
Okay, old 7D. I don't believe there's any reason to go there unless somebody wants to. Okay, item 8, update 8A, staff report. Brian, you or
Yeah,
Doug?
just,
Who's-
yeah, I'll go first, and then Doug can give you any commentary on the projects that are in the operating commission. The only other one for your edification, it's not quite ready for prime time yet, but may have a plan commission workshop in September. I talked to a development group called North Point late last week. They have an option on 2 of the parcels that are owned by the White Horse family. It'd be 2 of the parcels that when we platted the road a number of years ago, there was kind of a road that was to be built through the property. They have secured, I believe, an LOI on 2 of the parcels to the east of that road. What they're looking at doing is a multifamily project, basically being an affordable housing, WIDA tax credit supported project. What they're looking at right now would be 3 buildings. The first building, I believe I'd have to check my numbers, was 53 or 60 units in a 3 to 4 story building, and then 2 separate buildings that are townhome designed that would have 6 units in each building, so 12 additional units. The total number of units in the project as of now is like 75. And so they're still in the early stages, kind of fleshing out the site plan and all of that. They'll be in front of Plan Commission at some point in September to get some feedback there. They do have a deadline for the WIDA tax credit program for 2022. That deadline is early part of December, so there is some decision points that they need from the city in terms of land use and some tentative city support there. They will likely run the project from both a TIF-A standpoint and a non-TIF-A standpoint, and we'll see, what they come up with. But that's where I'm at with that one right now. So early stages, but as I get more information from the team, I'll keep you apprised.
Okay, thank you. Doug Plowman, did you have anything to add or?
Thank you. Nothing specifically about additional TIF projects other than the 2 that came forward, and then the project that Brian just mentioned. I can give a quick development update if that would be of interest to the commission.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So one of the main ones that's being worked on right now is the former Old National Bank site, 6501 Monona Drive. It's right there on the corner. Right now, the proposal is coming through to divide that parcel via CSM into 2 parcels and have 2 commercial units take that over. The larger of the 2 is proposed to be a Chipotle with a drive-up, drive-through window as well. And then there'd be a smaller secondary parcel, possibly with medical office, be about 3,000 square feet as sort of a secondary user for that space. So they already came through Plan Commission for the pre-hearing of the CSM. The zoning permit for the land use itself is likely to come through again in September. For the pre-hearing, there's some design challenges that may need to be fleshed out. So that is kind of moving through, again, no TIF ask, but would be a prominent development work to go ahead. Also, since we last spoke, One City Schools did receive their zoning permit to occupy the former Norby building on the WPS campus. That transaction has since completed, and they're expecting occupancy within the next week or 2 of some of their youngest class to go in there. It would be more of a temporary space with full build out kind of proceeding concurrently as well.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, that was really it. They're the two main large ones, with obviously with the TIF projects also working through at the same time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a question on the Old National, the Chipotle part of that. With a drive-through, the access is terrible there. They're not going to allow cuts on Winona Drive or Broadway, are they?
No, there would be no additional curb cuts proposed, simply utilizing the existing curb cut off of River Place.
Yeah, okay. Well, wish them the best of luck. People aren't going to be able to figure out how to get in there, I don't think, but not our issue, I guess. Okay, any members of the CDA have questions for staff? Okay, upcoming meetings to be determined.
Our next meeting would be September 28th,
Okay,
and we'd likely have Monona Gardens back and maybe the BMO neutral project one, depending on where they're at with their TIF numbers.
okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Somebody?
So moved.
I've got a motion. I've got a second from Doug Wood. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you all. We are adjourned. See you next time.